And good morning, YouTube. And good morning, Instagram. So excited to be with you here this morning. How's everybody doing? I would love to get some questions today. My name is Eve. I am the host and creator of a podcast called Please Me. And I'm going to be here answering questions for you guys today. I can't wait to see all of your questions and comments. And I'm going to be talking about how to get wet and stay wet and have wetter and wilder sex. And this is going to be all about the female anatomy today. So this is going to be really exciting to talk about. And thank you so much, Life, for the compliment. Appreciate that very much. And I'm going to be talking about the anatomy of how women get wet and how we can enhance that. So if you have any questions at all, please feel free to leave comments and open up my comments section here. And looking forward to having a really amazing conversation. I'm here live today on sdc.com. I'm live on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And I am so excited to be answering your questions today. So feel free to reach out and say hello. And if I don't get to all of the questions, please reach out to me afterwards. So I'm going to make sure that you guys can find me. So my website is pleaseme.online, and you can always reach me there. Leave me a message. There's a message to my email, and I will always respond to all of those emails. And also, you can reach me on the OWL app. And the OWL app, there's a code, and the code is EH576472. I'm going to put that over here. In case anybody wants to talk to me directly. And let's just put that code here, EH576, for anybody who wants to talk to me directly. You can reach me always on the OWL app. And if I'm not live on the OWL app, you can always request that I go live. And if I'm available, I will go live so we can have a conversation. So I am on there off and on throughout the day. So, please look for that as well. So again, welcome today to my Please Me Live. Please Me is a podcast that aims to destigmatize conversations about sex and sexual health. And the way I do that is by turning the sheets into our classroom. And if you've listened to my podcast at all, you know that I cover lots and lots of juicy different topics. I cover things like kink. I cover things like, different books that people have written that are maybe about sexuality or about women's health. I cover all sorts of things. So a couple of weeks ago, I was here talking to you about how to get hard and stay hard in the bedroom, right? I don't know if anybody listened to that one, but that was a really popular webinar, had lots and lots of questions and people listening. And we talked about erectile dysfunction and how to treat that. And it was a really interesting conversation. So if you have not listened to that one, you can go back and listen to that because it is in my videos. And so you can find that there. And I talk about the treatment that I do for erectile dysfunction, and it's called acoustic wave therapy. And acoustic wave therapy is also used for decreased vaginal sensitivity and dryness. And what happens over time with women is that they start to lose sensation in their tissue, and they also start to decrease the lubrication. So first, I want to really talk about the lubrication of a woman's body parts, right? It comes in a lot of different ways. It's not just one way that a woman lubricates. Women have several different methods to lubricate, and it's super interesting. The cervix produces some vaginal fluid. The Bartholin's glands that are right at the entrance to the vagina, and the vagina is the canal. Okay, the vagina is not the whole thing, right? The vagina is just the canal. Um, there's Bartholin's glands that are there, and they produce a fluid as well. And there's also something called the Skene's glands in women. The Skene's glands in women also produce what we would call, quote unquote, female ejaculate. And the Skene's glands is the equivalent in women to the male prostate. It is the same tissue. It comes from the same origin during development. And so it has very similar properties. And the Skene's glands also produces an ejaculate. But I will point out here that the ejaculate is not necessarily when a woman orgasms. So she may produce some female ejaculate from the Skene's glands, and that may be released during sexual intercourse or during foreplay or sexual touch. However, if that is released, that doesn't necessarily mean that a woman had an orgasm. So just to be looking out for that, because it's different than in the male system, where when a man ejaculates, he does have a climax. So, hola, good morning. Hello. I am in Florida, and I would love to know where everybody is listening to me from. So if you have, if you can chat with me, if you can comment with me, I'd love to know where you're from. And right now, I am looking at my StreamYard Live, and I have my comment section up, and I have it connected with Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, but I am not really sure if those comments are going to come up. So if anybody is listening and wants to add a comment there, I would love to see if that comment comes up. I know I can see all of my comments on SDC. Let me turn off my ringer here. I don't need that right now. So anyway, I was talking about female ejaculate, right? And how when a woman ejaculates, that doesn't necessarily mean that she had an orgasm. So being conscious of that and knowing that is very important because, a lot of times women won't tell you whether or not they orgasmed, but, sometimes inquiring minds want to know, right? So I always feel like it's best to actually ask and have that conversation with your partner, because you may have had you may have reached climax, but maybe she hasn't, and it's nice to make sure that everybody is satisfied in the bedroom, wouldn't you say? So I definitely think that that is super important. So we were just talking about the Skene's glands, and how that produces female ejaculate. And the part that produces the most vaginal fluid is the walls of the vagina. And the walls of the vagina are, filled with blood vessels, just like the penis is filled with blood vessels. And those blood vessels can become clogged up. And usually that's because of our diet and our nutrition. And just like our heart valves can get clogged up with atherosclerosis and with plaque, so can the blood vessels that go to your penis and that go to your clitoris and that go to your vagina. And so first, let's just talk about the anatomy. And I just want to welcome, I would love to welcome South Texas, Welcome and Alicante, España. Alicante in España or another Alicante? I'm assuming it's Alicante in España. I lived in Spain for several years. Me encanta España. So welcome. And Florida, Florida sister here. I live in Florida myself. I'm in Palm Beach County, and that is where my practice for physical therapy is. So I'm just going to go back because I have some people joining me now and kind of introduce myself again. My name is Eve, and I am the host and creator of a podcast called Please Me. And Please Me aims to destigmatize conversations about sex by turning the sheets into our classroom. And that is what I talk about on my podcast. And I also do these webinars. And I like to talk to everybody out there and answer your questions. So that's what this is all about. And we were just talking about how the vagina and the external part of the woman's anatomy, the vulva, gets wet and stays wet and is wet throughout your sexual experiences. And we talked about the cervix, and we talked about the Bartholin's glands, and we talked about the Skene's glands. And I was just about to talk about the vaginal walls. And the vaginal walls, just like the penis, have lots and lots of blood vessels. And if those blood vessels become clogged up, then you're going to have issues with blood flow. And for the penis, if it doesn't have enough blood flow, you're not going to be able to get an erection. And so that is a very obvious issue. But for women, it's less obvious and oftentimes overlooked. And so that's why I'm here talking about it today, because I don't think it's right to be overlooking this very important issue. And what happens when women's blood flow decreases is that they start to experience something called decreased vaginal sensitivity and dryness. And it's a real problem. And, it does cause sometimes painful sex. It does cause sometimes vaginal atrophy. And it does cause dryness, which can be a real issue. And, I always say, that lube is for everybody, not just people in menopause, right? Lube is for everybody. So definitely use lube, whether you are 20 or 60. It doesn't matter. Lube is for everybody because there is only so much vaginal fluid that your body can produce. And over time, with friction caused by intercourse and rubbing and all sorts of things, can evaporate. Just like if you rub your towel on your arm and your arm is wet from the shower, in 2 seconds, it's dry, and then whatever is remaining evaporates very quickly. So that friction is going to help to increase the evaporation. So always using lube is super, super important to help the everything rub smoothly, and so nothing catches and that skin doesn't get irritated, chafed, or torn. And that is very common when lube is not being used or where there's not enough lubrication. So I want to talk now about the vaginal walls. And the vaginal walls are super important in lubricating your internal vaginal parts, right? And also external, because it all kind of flows together, right? And so what happens is when there's less blood flow to the vaginal walls have less fluid, because what happens with the blood is that it runs along those vaginal walls, and the plasma of the blood, okay, that's like the clear part of the blood, the plasma of the blood seeps through the walls of the vagina in the vaginal canal, and it lubricates. Okay, sorry about that. And it lubricates the vagina, and then it also lubricates externally too, because it all kind of flows out and gets everything wet. My Windows is trying to update right in the middle of my webinar. Sorry about that. So anyway, so if you're not having enough blood flow to the tissue, you're not going to have enough wetness in your vaginal parts and externally in your vulva and your clitoris, etc. And I will point out here that the clitoris is synonymous with the penis. So the clitoral tissue is very similar to the penile tissue, and it needs to become engorged in order to be ready to have intercourse and to have sex. And a lot of people don't realize that the clitoris needs to get a quote unquote hard on, just like the man and the penis need to get a hard on, right? It needs to get engorged and filled with blood. And when it gets filled with blood, that's when the plasma from the blood can seep through the walls of the tissue and lubricate all of that area. So what happens when there's blockages? Good morning, everybody. Let me grab my coffee. Hope you guys have your coffee. What are we drinking this morning? I know that some people are joining me from Europe, so the time is different over there, and so I'm excited that you're here today. Super excited that you're listening. What's amazing about the internet is that we can reach people all over the world, and it's really incredible. So welcome, everybody. So what happens when the vaginal tissue is not getting properly lubricated? You're having decreased blood flow, and there is a treatment for that. And just as I talked about earlier, the treatment for erectile dysfunction, and the treatment is called acoustic wave therapy. This treatment is also very, very good to increase the blood flow to the vagina and the clitoris and the vulva. And basically what it does is it decreases the blockages by causing little waves of, it's a sound wave technology, little sound waves into the tissue that break up the blockages. And, it's also known as Gaines wave, but it's called acoustic wave therapy. That is the name of the actual treatment. And I do this treatment in my practice. I treat conditions of erectile dysfunction, and I also treat conditions of decreased vaginal sensitivity and dryness. And basically what it is it's a wand that, similar to if you've ever gotten an ultrasound in therapy or something like that. It's similar to that, and it moves over the tissue. I put gel and to conduct the make it smooth, and it conducts the treatment, and it breaks up the blockages in the tissue and allows for more blood flow. And it is an amazing treatment to help treat the issue. And the problem with a lot of treatments that we find for erectile dysfunction, when you go to your doctor, is that they give you pills, which kind of just mask the symptoms. So they may increase your blood flow for a period, because what they do is they open up the blood vessels. They open up the blood vessels, those medications like Viagra, and they open up the blood vessels and allow for more blood flow. But what happens when those blockages get worse and worse and worse, right? They block up the blood vessels. And then those medications no longer help. And then at that point, you have severe erectile dysfunction. And women can also have severe vaginal sensitivity and dryness. And then that makes sex very painful. And so when you are having a lot of painful sex, guess what? You don't want to have sex anymore, right? So you stop using or start using less your vaginal area. And then you can develop something called vaginal atrophy. And vaginal atrophy is the tissue that is no longer being used and it starts to diminish, just like any muscle can atrophy. Have you ever, been in the hospital for a long time or seen somebody who's been in the hospital for a long time and they were laying up in bed for a long time and they come home and their little calf muscles are so skinny from not walking? Or if you've had a surgery and you haven't used that leg for a while and those muscles atrophy, and they get smaller. So same thing with the vagina. The vagina can atrophy, and think about the vagina as a muscle. The walls are lined with muscles, and the pelvic floor, the bottom part of the support system of the pelvis, is made of muscles, and all of that can atrophy. And when that atrophies, you have issues like decreased vaginal sensitivity and dryness. You might have painful sex. You might have incontinence. And let's talk about incontinence a little bit because it is not always the sexiest of topics, right? But it does affect our sexual health. Who wants to have sex after you've, leaked all over the place, right? And leakage is very, very common in women. And, a lot of times people think that incontinence is something that's happening only to old people and they're wearing diapers and there's nothing you can do about it. But that is not true. Actually, incontinence can happen to all women. And it's very common for athletes to have incontinence when they're actually doing sports because the pressure and the amount of energy needed to, do the athletic activities, whatever those may be, sometimes will force that the urine out of the body and they'll get leakage. And so a lot of athletes, and I can't remember now, I did an episode on this, so you'll have to go back and listen to that one for the actual statistics. But in my recollection, it was 40% of 20-year-old female athletes experience incontinence when they're doing sports. And it's a very high number. And a lot of people are not talking about this, but it is an issue that follows women throughout their lives. And so there is treatment for incontinence. And so I want to just point that out here too. Because today I'm talking about all of it, right? All of the relevant parts. And I want to make sure that people are, realizing that number one, there is no shame in having any kind of sexual health issue. Okay. And a lot of times people are afraid or embarrassed to go to their doctors and talk to them about, the issues that they're having because they're embarrassed. But there's no shame in having an STI or sexually transmitted infection. Okay. There's treatments for almost all of them. And it's like having a cold. All right. It's viral or bacterial, just like COVID, just like the flu, and just like every other cold. So having an STI is like having a cold, but down there, right? And you have to get it treated. So there's no shame in going to the doctor for treatment for STIs. I like to consider myself the face of safe sex, and I do talk about safe sex a lot and avoiding that. But if that happens to you, there is absolutely no shame in going to the doctor to get treatment for STIs, also for incontinence. And oftentimes what the doctors will do is they'll send you to a pelvic floor physical therapist. And that is what I do. I have a practice that's called Inspire Health Physical Therapy, and I treat conditions of the pelvic floor, and incontinence is one of those issues. So getting treatment for that is very important. And then, of course, vaginal atrophy is a big issue as well. And if the tissue is starting to break down, is starting to not have a lot of blood flow, the muscles are getting very weak. And there are ways that I can treat or I can test to see if you have weakness in your muscles. It is an internal exam that I do, and there's a way for me to check to see if you have weakness, and there's ways for me to check if that weakness is coming from your endurance muscles or if it's coming from strength. And there's ways to strengthen both of those things. So seeking a pelvic floor physical therapist if you're having vaginal atrophy or any of these conditions is really important. And then let's talk about wetness, right? Because that's why we're all here. We want to be juicy all the time, right? And like I said before, there's only so much your body can produce. And so you can help it along in a lot of different ways. One of them I already talked about was lube, and lube is so important. And I would love to hear what your favorite lubes are. I personally love coconut oil. It's just, you can buy it in the grocery store in the oil section. You don't have to get a specific one that's, for, of course, they sell a lot of different ones that are, specifically for sexual intercourse. But you can just get the coconut oil right off the shelf. And that's usually what I use because I love how it smells and I love how it tastes. And I love the amount of lubrication that it provides. So I do use that. Good morning, everybody. I see lots of people over here, and for some reason it's showing. Okay. All right. I hope everybody can hear me. And so that's one way that you can increase your lubrication. And you can also get the treatment that I've been talking about. And the treatment is called acoustic wave therapy. Okay. And what it is it's a wand that moves over the vulva and the clitoris externally. And I also use a wand that can also go internally just a little bit into the vaginal opening. And it does help to break up those blockages that we have from, years of maybe, poor eating choices, right? And so we're going to talk about nutrition in a minute. But, a lot of times things that have cholesterol in them, and that's mainly meat products, can clog up your arteries and your blood vessels. And so we want to try to decrease those blockages. And acoustic wave therapy does that. And usually I recommend 6 visits to start. And that is really for prevention and for breaking up those blockages that you may not even know that you have, because you may be functioning completely normally, right? But sometimes those blockages are forming. And so I always say prevention is so important. When you have let's say mild issues with decreased vaginal sensitivity and dryness, or mild issues with erectile dysfunction, I'll recommend 10 visits. And it goes up from there because the visits build one on top of the next, on top of the next. And so, the blockages that you get the first time will remain. And what's amazing about this treatment is that it also creates more capillary formation. And if you know what capillaries are the very small blood vessels in your body. And so this treatment actually creates more capillary formation so that over time and over, several different treatments, you're actually not just unblocking the blockages, but you're also creating more capillaries so that more blood can flow to the area. And that is going to help with that lubrication and with having that, wet, juicy sex, right? So, making sure that if you are listening to this and you're having these issues, that you reach out and find a pelvic floor therapist that can do this treatment for you, or reach out to me because that is what I do. And I would love to help you with this condition. I also do health coaching. So I'm going to just put that out there as well, because there is a lot of information that I can share with you virtually that you can do to really help to improve in this area. And I know that lots of women are struggling with these issues, and they're not really talking about it. They're not talking to their partners about it. They're not talking to their best friends about it. They're not talking to their doctors about it. And we should be talking about it. One of the things that my podcast is all about is opening up communication between, your partner and yourself, or even having conversations with your friends, and or even having conversations with your doctor. It's super important to have these conversations, because if you're not talking to your doctor, your partner, how else are you going to, be able to seek help? So it's super important to break down those stigmas about having these conversations, throw all of that out the window, and really hone in on what's going to be best for you and for you to take care of yourself. So I'm also going to put in here, and I think it's so obvious, but I think a lot of us forget that it's so important, is that hydration is so important. Hydration is how our body, our blood, has enough volume in order to circulate and to bring nutrition to all of our cells. And if you don't have enough hydration, you're not going to, your body's not going to function optimally. And so everybody's body is a little bit different. We all weigh a little bit different. And so it's recommended that you drink half of your body weight in ounces per day. So that's going to be a little bit different for everybody, but it's a lot of water, or a lot of, hydrating drinks. And so let's just put out there, oh, Greece, someone from Greece is here. Hello. Awesome. So I will answer that question, Joe, in a little while. Okay. So we're talking about, not waiting and not putting off these issues, because what happens is, as they get more severe, it becomes harder and harder to treat. So when you start to have these issues, that is the best time to treat them. So hydration, half of your body weight in ounces. Excuse me. And that is all non-caffeinated beverages. Caffeinated beverages, and speaking of caffeinated beverages, my coffee, right? This is the first thing I'm drinking today. I should be drinking water. Hydration. Usually I have a shake in the morning. I haven't made it yet because I had a really busy morning. But usually in my shake, I put a product that I use to help me with energy. It's called a Juice Plus, and it's the shakes. And if you want to look into that product itself, I'm going to be talking about it a little bit more. It's on my website, pleaseme.online. And I have my shake, and I put fruit in there always. So that, fruit is filled with hydration. I also usually use a plant-based milk. So I love oat milk. So I usually put oat milk in there, and then I put the shake mix in there, which gives me 15, an additional 15 fruits and vegetables in my body every day. And we're going to talk about fruits and vegetables too, because that is so important. And then I put lots of ice. And so typically my first drink of the day is usually my shake, and it's probably about, I would say, 2 cups of hydration. And it's so important to hydrate first thing in the morning and throughout the day. And the reason why that is super important, if you're hydrating throughout the day, your body's able to use that hydration as you're giving it to your body. It's using it as you're giving it. So you're peeing less, right? But your body is optimally functioning. If you wait and drink all of your water at one time, or in 2 different increments, your body is going to use what it needs at that moment and then pee the rest out. And so it's really important to try to hydrate throughout the day. And this is super important for people who are suffering from incontinence. Okay. Because incontinence, can happen, at any time. But when you are constantly giving your body hydration throughout the day, your body is using what you're giving it, peeing less because it's using it instead of peeing it out, right? And you're able to have less fluids in your bladder, so that you're going to have less potential for having incontinence. Okay, let me just drink some coffee here. So, hydration. Half of your body weight in ounces every single day is super key. We talked about the anatomy of the vaginal lubricating system already. And I had gotten into it earlier, but I didn't finish talking about the clitoris. So the clitoris is equivalent to the man's penis, and it is an organ that is both external. So you'll see the clitoris externally in the folds of the vulva. And you'll also see the clitoral hood, okay? But what you don't see is the rest of the clitoris, which is actually almost the size of the man's penis. It is a large organ system that is both external and internal in women. And it is very important to know that, because a lot of times people, when stimulating a woman, will focus on just the external little nub that you see, right? And the clitoris runs underneath the vulva internally, and is also inside the vagina, the vaginal canal, mostly the first inch or two. Okay. It's not super deep. All right. The clitoris is more superficial. And so it's important to stimulate that in order for the woman to get prepared for penetration. And a lot of times women will have painful sex and think that there's something wrong with them because they have painful sex. But a lot of times it's not because there's something wrong. It's because the woman needs more stimulation in order to get engorged. So for a man, sometimes just thinking about, something sexy can cause them to get an erection. But for women, it takes much longer. And the tissue needs to be stimulated much longer. So, if a man, just thinks about it and gets hard, right? For a woman, it could take up to 20 to 25 minutes to really get fully engorged in order for penetration to be comfortable and pain-free. So, how do we do that? How do we, get that tissue ready? And so, I like to talk about, oral sex. Oral sex is one of those ways that you can get that tissue ready, and it is wonderful. But then again, we always have to talk about safety here too, right? Because if you're with a partner that you've had conversations with about, having oral sex or unprotected sex, because having oral sex without some kind of protection is unprotected sex, just as having penetration without a condom is unprotected sex. So unless you're with a partner that you've already had the discussion with about having unprotected sex, you need to really consider whether you're going to do that, and have a conversation with your partner about testing together, and about safety, so that you can really enjoy yourselves. And so oral sex is one of those ways that you can get the clitoris engorged. But there's also your hand, right? And your hand is safe at all times. And the hand is a great tool. So, rubbing the clitoris externally, the vulva, it's not just the clitoris and the clitoral hood that you want to touch, right? It's the whole vulva, because underneath that vulva is the clitoris, okay? The rest of the clitoris that you don't see, the whole anatomical part of the clitoris that you don't see. And then internally, you can reach some of the clitoris by touching yourself internally. And you can use your hands, but there's always lots of toys that you can use to stimulate. So I always say that there is no shame in bringing toys into the bedroom. And so if there's anybody out there who has issues with that, you need to really have a conversation with those people and say, listen, this is how I get stimulated. And so my favorite toy is the rose, because I love how big the surface area is. But there are so many different toys out there, and I'm going to be actually curating a list of these toys on my website soon, with a partner of mine, Organic Lovin'. She has an amazing store, and she is actually on SDC, so check her out, Organic Lovin'. And she has lots and lots, and my dog is barking, so let me bring her in here real quickly. Hold on. Melody, shh, be quiet. Sorry about that. She likes to be part, so I have my cat and my dog in here with me. Come here, Melody. Come on, say hi to everybody. There she is, Melody. That's Melody. Anyways, she was outside barking, and now she's inside barking. My apologies for that. So anyways, what were we talking about? We were talking about, let's see. I can't remember now. I got distracted. Thank you. Isn't she cute? My cat is so cute too. She's laying over there, but maybe I'll bring her over in a little bit because she's so adorable. I love my babies. So I want to talk about how doctors can sometimes not be very helpful. When you go to the doctor and you are really, made an appointment and you're like super excited about going to talk to them about something, and you go and talk to them about, say perimenopause or menopause, a lot of times they're like, well, it happens, and that's not the answer that you want to get, right? You want to have some kind of help for the issues that you're having. And there is help out there. And what's incredible is there are so many different companies now, women created companies that are creating products that are helping women to increase vaginal lubrication, decrease incontinence, decrease vaginal atrophy, decrease painful sex. And so there are so many different companies out there, and I'm partnering with one now. I'm not going to talk about it today because I really want to maybe do another one of these webinars with them specifically so that they can tell us all about their products. But there are, you want to think about hormones. Hormones are so important for women. And a lot of times, as we get older, our hormones are produced by our eggs, right? And as those eggs get released over the years, they're getting released. And so you're losing your hormone producing eggs. And so as you get older and you lose more and more of those eggs, those hormones become less and less prevalent in your body. And sometimes you need to replace that in order to replace the function. And so it's super, super important if you are perimenopausal or menopausal. And this can happen to many different people. This is not just women, who are in their 40s, 50s, 60s and up, right? This is women who have undergone, hysterectomies early on, people who have suffered from different types of cancers. A lot of times the treatments will send you into perimenopause or menopause. And these could be women in their 20s or 30s. This is a problem for a lot of different women. And so trying to talk to your doctors about hormone replacement is sometimes you don't get very far. But there are a lot of incredible companies out there that are, trying to bridge that gap between what we are, not getting medically and what we really do need to continue functioning properly. So I am going to see if I can schedule a webinar with one of those companies to talk about the different products that they have that can really help to get those tissues to be, healthier. And another thing that really helps with, we talked about hydration, but think about cleaning your body out, right? So water, just like when you take a shower in the morning, you stay under there for a long time. You don't take a 5-second shower, right? You stay under there for a long time and you let that water run over all of your skin, over your hair. My hair is still wet from my shower this morning. Just to cleanse all of you, right? And so when you're drinking water, think about when you're drinking water that you're cleansing your body from the inside out. So you have to have lots and lots of water in order to cleanse yourself. You're not going to cleanse yourself with a little, cup of water, teeny little cup of water. You're going to put lots of water into your body to cleanse it. And your every cell in your body needs hydration in order to function properly. So giving your body lots and lots of hydration. And another thing that your body needs in order to function properly is proper nutrition. And nutrition is so, so important. And one of the most important things nutritionally is to get enough fruits and vegetables in your diet every day. And so on the average, we need about 10 servings of fruits and vegetables in our bodies per day for men and women. So women may need a little bit less than that. Men may need a little bit more than that. But let's just say on average for men and women, about 10 servings of fruits and vegetables in our bodies every day in order to have the proper nutrition that we need so that our bodies can function properly and can have the nutrients that our cells need to function properly. And so everybody's serving, we'll talk about that now, is going to be a little bit different, right? So for me, a serving size would be the size of my fist. And I'm, 5'2", I'm not too tall. So my serving size is going to be smaller than, a man that's 6'5". So being conscious of that also, and trying to figure out how many servings do you actually get per day. So the average American, believe it or not, gets 1.5 servings of fruits and vegetables per day. So we have, created a diet where we are calorie rich, right? We eat lots and lots of calories, but we're nutritionally poor. Okay. We're not eating enough nutrition. And fruits and vegetables are so important for so many different reasons. And if you've heard of antioxidants, it's very important to eat lots and lots of antioxidants. Also, nutrients, minerals, vitamins, all of that is present in fruits and vegetables. So eating lots and lots of fruits and vegetables is very important. And I talked about this a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about the male anatomy and how to make the male parts taste yummier, right? And we talked about pineapple as being, one of those things that can make your semen taste better, taste sweeter, and really any sweet fruit can help with that. Mangoes, berries, and berries have tons of antioxidants. And, if you've ever cut an apple in half and left it on the counter, you will see that it turns brown. Okay. And that is called oxidation. And that is exactly what happens inside of your body. So the antioxidants help to cleanse that oxidation away. So having lots of antioxidants is so important. And I use another product. It's called Juice Plus. And again, you can find that information on my website. I'm just going to pop up my website here. It's called pleaseme.online, and I'll just pop it in here too. Pleaseme.online. And well, sometimes SDC is weird about links, and I think so. That's why it didn't. It didn't. So dot online. I'll do it like this. Let's see if that works. Dot online. Okay, it's not allowing me. So I just think it's the link for SDC, but that's fine. I'm just telling you now. It's pleaseme.online, and you can find information about all of those products that I'm talking to you about. The shakes that I have every day for breakfast, that really gives you tons and tons of energy, and it gives you 15 fruits and vegetables in your body every day. And then I take a supplement called Juice Plus, which gives you an additional 30 fruits and vegetables in your body daily. So when you have the combination of both, you're giving yourself 45 fruits and vegetables in your body daily. And, a lot of times people will say, well, I just want to eat my food and I want to eat my nutrition. And I think that that's great. And I eat lots and lots of fruits and vegetables every day. And what's incredible is that some people don't even like to eat vegetables, right? But as they start to take Juice Plus on a regular basis, their body starts to crave the nutrition that you're giving it. And that's a phenomenon called metabolic reprogramming. And metabolic reprogramming is super amazing and interesting. And when you start to give your body this nutrition, it starts to crave it more. And so you're going to start to crave the things that you don't like to eat. And I was just talking to a friend of mine in Tampa, and he started taking Juice Plus a few months ago. And I had a conversation with him, and he said, I can't believe it. I came home today and I hate Brussels sprouts. And all I could do was think about making a big pot of Brussels sprouts to eat because I was craving it. And it's unbelievable how your body can start to crave the nutrients that it needs when you start to give those nutrients to it. So that's one of the really great benefits to Juice Plus, because it does allow your body to have that metabolic reprogramming. And nutrition is so key. I know I'm kind of going off on a nutrition tangent, right? But nutrition is so key to having your body be healthy. When your body is not healthy, it is not going to function properly. And when your body doesn't function properly and your parts don't function properly, you're not going to get a hard on. You're not going to get erections. You're not going to get wet. You're not going to have the sensitivity that you want. And you might have incontinence. There's so many different things that nutrition affects. Nutrition is the way that we fuel our body. And if you're going to fuel it with, junk food, it's not going to run optimally. But if you're going to fuel it with nutritional quality food, it's going to run much better. And you're going to experience longevity because of it. So nutrition is so important. And I always say it's 80% of health. Your nutrition is 80% of health. Okay. And a lot of times people are like, I have to go work out. I have to go work out. Yes, exercise is super, super, super important. Okay. But think about 80% of health being nutrition and 20% of health being hydration, which we talked about, exercise, which we haven't talked about. But sex is exercise, right? And we want to have lots of energy for sex. And sleep. Sleep is part of that 20%. Sleep is very important as well. So we haven't covered that too much. I probably won't talk about sleep too much, but everybody's body is a little bit different, but getting between 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night is really important to let your body replenish itself. When you're sleeping, your body is healing. And if you're not giving yourself enough sleep, your body cannot fully heal and fully replenish itself to be ready for the next day. So sleep is super important. And I know that I myself struggle with that a lot. So I use at night, I use medical marijuana. Sometimes I'll take a gummy or a chocolate, something like that, that really helps me to sleep. I don't know what other people out there use. Sexercise. Yes, Claude. I am all about the sexercise, right? And sometimes, supplementing the sexercise with actually exercising helps you to become stronger and helps you to have better endurance so that when you are having your sexual experiences, you can really, perform optimally. And I know that when I stop to exercise for a while, I notice a difference in what I can do and my stamina. And then when I start to exercise again, I can tell a huge difference in my stamina in the bedroom. So exercise outside of sexercising is important too. Moving your body every day in some way is very important. And for everyone, that's going to be different. Some people like to dance around in their bedroom, which I love to do, or dance around in my kitchen when I'm cooking. I always have music on, and that's super important to move your body. Sometimes I go for walks. I take my weights with me, and I'll do my, resistance exercises. You can go to the gym. You can do so many different things, yoga, boxing. I mean, there's so many different ways to move your body. Tai Chi, everybody's different, and what everybody likes is going to be different. So whatever it is that motivates you to move your body daily, that's what you want to do. Okay? Forget about what everybody else is doing. Do what you like, because that's going to motivate you to continue doing it on a daily basis. So moving your body daily is key. I'm going to go over here and see if there are any questions that I missed. So let me just go back here. And just as I'm checking here, there's someone from Curacao. Welcome. Alicante, welcome. Netherlands, Amsterdam, welcome, you guys. Welcome. I'm just checking my messages over here. More plant-based. Yes, plant-based diets are where it's at. And, those meat eaters out there that don't want to hear it, just, ignore this part of the message, right? But, meat is where cholesterol comes from. And cholesterol is what clogs up your arteries and your blood vessels. And so when you're clogging that up, that's what's causing you to have erectile dysfunction, decreased vaginal sensitivity, and dryness in these conditions, right? And, heart disease. Hello, heart disease. No one wants a heart attack, right? So eating plant-based is where it's at. And I'm not saying everybody go and become a vegetarian. I was a vegetarian for 8 years before my pregnancies, and I am no longer a vegetarian. I do eat chicken and I eat fish. However, most of my diet is plant-based. And when you're thinking about creating a plate of food, half of your plate should always be fruits and vegetables. Okay, half of it. All right, so think about that. A humongous salad on half of your plate, or vegetables or fruits, whatever that may be, but half of your plate should always be fruits and vegetables. And that is the recommended, that's recommended, nutritionally in, from the Food and Drug Administration or whatever they put out there, their recommendations, and half of your fruits and half of your plate should be fruits and vegetables. So let me just go back here. Okay. Stretching. Yes, stretching is super important. You're right, Claude. Stretching is one of those signs of longevity. And if you want to live a long life, it's super important that you maintain your flexibility, because what happens when you lose it? You develop things called contractures. Okay, contractures is a physical therapy term, but it basically just means that your tendons and your ligaments get tight. Okay, and when they get tight, you can't move as easily. And when you can't move as easily, you have a more risk for injury, more risk for falls. And if you have any old people in your life, which every single one of us do, right? That falls are a huge risk for them. And one fall can change their life and can possibly kill them if they break a hip or whatever, and they are bed bound for a long time. And as a physical therapist, I deal with this a lot. We're not talking about that right now. We're talking about sexy time, right? But stretching, as Claude mentioned, is super important to maintain that flexibility so that you can have a long life and a healthy life. Okay. Uh-huh. Yes. And so Claude brings up protein. And, as I was talking about my, what I take in the morning, Juice Plus, it has protein in it. It's a protein shake, but it's a plant-based protein shake. And protein is super important. It's essential building blocks for your body. Your cells need proteins. Those cell walls need proteins. Protein is super important for your body to build muscle. So if you're exercising and not giving your body enough protein, that's not good. You need to make sure that you're giving yourself enough protein. So that is why I have that shake every single morning. And if you want to learn about those products, please go to pleaseme.online and you can see all of my products there. I also want to, as I'm wrapping up here, invite you all to join the Orgasm Revolution. And the Orgasm Revolution is uh, a revolution that I started in February and that is ongoing. And you can learn about it on pleaseme.online. But basically, what it is it's bringing awareness to the orgasm gap. And the orgasm gap is a phenomenon where in heterosexual relationships, women are having less orgasms than men across the board, whether it's a hookup or you've been married for 50 years, okay? Women are having less orgasms. And why that is that? And that is an issue, okay? And the reason is that a lot of men and a lot of women don't understand the anatomy of the female body and how, a woman must get engorged in order to be ready for penetration. So just like the man needs to get his hard on, the woman needs to get engorged. And so really preparing the tissue for penetration is super important, okay? And that can involve, like I said earlier, oral sex. It can involve touching, whatever it is, but 20 to 25 minutes, of preparation is important so that you're not causing painful sex. And you're lubricating. It takes a while for the woman's body to fully lubricate. So, everybody's body is different. Some people squirt in 2 seconds and, that wets things up, but some people need more time. So really knowing your partner, trying to figure those things out, and then having conversations. Hello, that is what my podcast is all about, having conversations about sex and sexual health, okay? There's no shame in talking about sex and sexual health. So on that note, I am going to leave you, but before I do, I want to just invite you to support my podcast. You can go to pleaseme.online and support the show. And also, a couple of weeks ago, I was number 2 in Portugal, and I'm so excited about that. And it just shows me that there is really big potential for the growth of this podcast. And how I grow is by getting reviews. So if you have listened to my podcast and you haven't left me a review yet, please go to Apple Podcasts and leave a review there for me. It makes all the difference. The reviews are how podcasts grow. And if they're not getting reviewed, they're not growing. So I invite you to go to Apple Podcasts and please leave me a review there. Listen to my podcasts. My podcasts talk about all sorts of amazing things, and each one of them is something that you can take something away from each one of them. And I talk about all things sexual health and sexuality. I talk about kink. I talk about, oh my gosh, there's just so many topics. I won't even go into all of it now, but you can go to my website and see my podcasts there. You can also go to YouTube. All my podcasts are there. And if you want to listen, you can go to Apple Podcasts or anywhere else that you listen to podcasts. I'm on Spotify, Audible, Listen Notes. And I'll point out here too that I just found out last week that my podcast is in the top 10% globally. And I am so proud of myself for that, because I have to say that this podcast has been a labor of love. and I've only been doing it for about 9 months. So please go on to Apple and leave me a review if you love my podcast and you think it deserves 5 stars. And of course, I think it deserves 5 stars. I work really hard at it, but please go on and listen and leave me a review. Thank you so much for being here today. Spotify too. Yes, I'm on every single site that you can listen to podcasts. Every single one, you will find me there. Okay. And you can, reach out to me in my messages on SDC if you have any questions. Please, my door is open and you're welcome to reach out and talk to me about different things. I do health coaching. And I am on OWL. Okay. And I'm going to just pop that up here again. My OWL code is EH576472, and you can reach me on OWL. OWL is an app where you can give me a call and we can talk on that app. And that is how I talk to, my potential customers or anyone that wants to have a chat and say hi. So go ahead and give me a call there. And I think that is all. And let's see, I did have, here we go. And I'm just going to pop this up here. You can't see it on SDC, but everybody on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube can see it. And I have an acoustic wave therapy, buy 5, get 1 free. And that is for anybody who wants to do the acoustic wave therapy. That is the treatment for decreased vaginal sensitivity and dryness. And it really helps to get that blood flowing. I talked at length about it earlier. And so, it is a savings of $350 and buy 1, get 1 free. And the reason why I am doing that specifically is because 6 treatments is what I recommend for prevention. And a lot of times we don't even realize that we have decreased blood flow, until the penis stops getting hard, right? But before that, there's blockages that are occurring as well. So prevention is key. So for women, decreased vaginal sensitivity and dryness. For men, erectile dysfunction. I'm offering this special price, buy 5, get 1 free. So on that note, I am going to say goodbye. And until next time, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Bye, SDC. Actually, I'm going to stay on SDC. I'm going to end